Wake up, buyer payer people. It's a beautiful day. Go grab yourself another cup of joe and say hello to Jim and Michelle Rhoads on the Buy Here Pay Here Morning Show. Take it away, you two.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning, everyone.
Happy White Hat Wednesday. Yeah. Welcome to the studio in North Utah.
It's going to be a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it's finally feeling like spring. And, my pull towards yard work is going to be part of our conversation today.
Oh, is it?
Well, that's why I did what I did. That's why I went.
Oh, that I see. She's definitely in spring yard work mode.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've been designing and planning.
And I'm quite enjoying this. It's the time of year where in the mornings we can, have the doors open. So you got nice fresh breeze and warm. It's just
lovely.
Nice. We're coming out of, cold winter stretch, obviously.
Yep.
So we got a topic today around customer service. Are you ready to dive in?
I certainly am.
So maybe just preface, in the description, I said, we're all customers, right? We're all customers of something, grocery store, you name it, just on and on. We all do business various places. And this topic came around because we both had some interesting experience as customers in recent days.
Oh yeah. For you, it was yesterday too, or the day
both
before.
Of mine, both of mine still had a thread yesterday. Yeah. So it's pretty fresh information for us in terms of what's happening. But if you want to, kind of share, I can share that I had an experience online with a group that I was entertaining, engaging. I was going to book a, discovery meeting with them. And so I'll tell that story. I know you have one first from locally yesterday.
So, and it was interesting because we were talking about this last night after I got home. I had to run to one of the big box stores. Yeah. And it was the one where they, have to check your receipt as you're leaving. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I went and I got this like big, long, flatbed because I saw that they had, soil compost for potting and all of that on sale. It was like super cheap. And I'd been thinking about this for a while and I was like, I'm going to go today because I was heading into town. And so I had my mom with me, my mom in tow, because we were going to go to dinner afterwards. And she's has a hard time walking. So she was in one of those go-kart things.
I'm going to call them scarts.
Yeah. So, and I had this flatbed. So, we went in and I got 9 bags of this potting mix. Mm-hmm. Really great. And, she got a couple of things too. So we went through checkout and we did self-checkout. And someone came up and that was like trying to be helpful and said, hey, I can just go ahead and scan these on your thing and save you some time because then I wouldn't have to lift them all off because I put them on the thing. It was heavy. And so he comes around and he's like, how many you got? And I said 9. And he scanned those and I got some bulbs too. So super excited because it's spring.
That's not part of the story.
I know it isn't, but Keep moving. Just, So I check out and then I look at my receipt and I'm like, I was overcharged by a bit. And so, and I knew that there was a sale. So I called the guy over and I said, hey, I think I was overcharged. Did I get the discount on everything? Because this doesn't, I do math in my head all the time. Yeah, I know. Right. And I'm like, it doesn't add up. And he looks at it and he goes 15 items. And I said, I don't have 15 items. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yeah, you've got these 2 and then the 13 bags. And I said, I have 9 bags of this stuff. So he's like, oh, okay. And I said, can I just get a refund? And he says, yeah, go over and talk to this gal. And he says, I'm really sorry. And I was like, that's okay. I mean, I get it. So I go over to the floor manager and I'm like, hey, here's the problem. Go through this whole thing where it's like, I'm expected at dinner in like 10 minutes. And I just knew I was going to fly in and fly out. It took me 20 minutes to get this whole receipt thing resolved. I mean, someone was in training and, and they were all really, really friendly and all of that. And so we finally got it taken care of, and I was like running late, and I was texting. It was my brother that we were meeting for dinner. My mom and my brother and we were celebrating my dad's birthday.
Yeah.
And so I go and I'm pulling towards the entrance, and someone from customer service just kind of, hey, lady, ma'am. And I was like, what? And he goes, you're pushing it the wrong, or you're doing it the wrong way. Cause I was pulling it instead of pushing it. Now, I have been to Costco
Whoops.
a billion times. And when I do big things, sorry about that. When I do big orders, I'll do the flatbed if I know that I've got, whatever. And I know for me, I can't see where I'm turning. And so I will pull it and then just kind of pull it around behind me.
Yeah.
I do understand it doesn't turn as easily, but it's better for me because I can see.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you got it piled
when
up.
I'm got it. So he's like, ma'am, you're doing it the wrong way. And it's like, it's okay. I know, it's like, no, ma'am, it's designed to push. It'll be easier for you to do it. And it's like, I know, thank you.
Yeah.
But it was, I know he was trying to be helpful. And even when I said,
why did it irritate you?
Well, here's the thing is it didn't irritate me until I got home after this whole thing. So this is one part of the story. And then I get up to the guy, and I asked the lady as we were working on the refund. I said, listen, I'm running late. Can I maybe get someone help me to load these in my car? Because I knew it was going to take me a long time, and they got people. And she's like, yeah, just ask as you're leaving. So I get up to the guy, and so I bring my receipts, and I'm like, okay, so here's the deal. I had to have it refunded, and and he goes, that's not self-checkout. And he was really, really testy with me. And I was like, okay, whatever, and I'm usually just, I'm cheerful.
You are.
So I was like, it's, I got it resolved, and I had to do. And I said, hey, is there someone that can help me with loading these? And he's like, go out and ask one of the cart guys. They'll be out there. And so I continue on out, and my mother's behind me with her receipt. And we weren't chatting or anything as we pull up. And so then she goes through her thing. I get someone to load the car, all of that. So after dinner, we're on our way home, and my mom goes, I need to tell you something. And I was like, what? And she goes, that guy that did your receipt as you were leaving said, next time, bring your husband. And was just really, really testy. And my mom,
he said to you,
he said behind my back. No,
next time maybe.
He said it as I was leaving behind my back. My mom heard him say, next time, bring your husband.
He didn't say it to your mom.
He did not say it to me, but my mom heard it. My mom's not that great of hearing, so it was loud enough.
Yeah.
So I when she told me this, I chuckled, and I was like, it's really, really interesting how when someone judges a situation that he didn't know everything I'd been through.
Right.
He didn't know. But he was testy from the moment I got up to him.
Right.
And then he said something derogatory.
Yeah.
And and when I got home, we got talking about this. I was like stringing this whole thing together. And I was like, as a customer, one, I'm a female customer.
Right.
And so that was the first thing that came along. So the idea in my mind, as I was kind of going through this, is that I had two interactions with people.
Right.
The guy that was like, hey, no, and he was trying to help a woman that didn't know better, and that was the energy. It was like, you're just not as smart or something.
Sure.
And I got through it, and it was fine.
Yeah.
And he was friendly. He was trying to be helpful,
right.
but he was still talking down to me. Yeah. And so at the door, this one was not trying to be helpful. He was testy, and he was talking down to me.
And he was basically accusing you of something that you didn't even do. It was somebody else who brought you through the self-checkout, right?
So, when Jim and I were talking about this, it's like for me, the moral of the story is, where we're talking about doing what our topic today was going to be. And the moral of the story is, there's a couple. One, I have in this industry, I'm just going to be really, really frank. I'm going to be frank. I have watched an attitude towards women that is appalling.
Right.
And I've seen it in dealer threads, and I've heard from stories from customer threads that dealers are telling about, that the way that and it's, you know, it's offensive. It just is. I'm a pretty darn intelligent
You are.
woman, and so to talk down to me is offensive.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then the other thing is that making an assumption. I mean, I got that guy was trying to be helpful with, you know, helping me do the thing. So great. But making an assumption and being grumpy and saying things behind my back that are derogatory.
Right.
That
and
is
a little bit
highly
sexist.
and it's very sexist.
Right.
That is highly offensive.
Right.
And I wasn't upset.
Yeah.
It wasn't even upset. I really, okay. When I say highly offensive, was I like, holy, no, it was just like, that is an old way of thinking.
Right.
And in 2025, we are flipping better than that.
Yeah.
We really, really are.
Yeah.
And so my story is a call to two things. Oh, well, three things. Don't assume someone's situation. You don't know, you know, why, when they get in there, it's like, they talk about, this is the conversation I have with my mom. It's like, there's a reason why they say you need to walk a mile in someone's shoes before you can pass judgment on however it is that they enter your field of awareness,
Right.
you know, your thing. Second is, it is time, looking at the screen. Okay. It is time for us to not speak down to women.
Yeah.
It just is.
Or anyone, right?
Or anyone. Or anyone. It's
Right.
like, as they consider them, I mean, for me as a woman, but I've seen people like, well, they're less intelligent, or and it is just time. It is time to stop that.
Right.
And, you know, there's great things in being helpful, but yeah. So I guess that was too.
Yeah. And I heard your story last night, and, you know, I can definitely tell that, you know, Michelle is definitely, I can say, somebody who's very intelligent. She's also, like, when it comes to mechanical matters, she's really great with all those kind of things. So I think
I understood the mechanics of this
the
cart.
whole thing. It's like, you know, so it's like,
Yeah.
you just, when you do that, you're that's this guy. He's stepping up and you know, talking to you in a way that it ends up coming across as condescending. It's
He was trying to be helpful.
he's trying
The
to.
first one, yeah.
Yeah, well,
but
but either way, it's like you're trying to be helpful. Context of being helpful, you're doing it in a way that ends up, you know, irritating or offending someone. You didn't respond to it, or you were kind about it, but it's like it's unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing if he just said it the first time, and then I said, "No, I understand. I'm okay." And he goes, "No, you don't understand." And I was like, "I freaking understand."
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, now we're starting to get the word, Michelle, really. I knew you were a little more upset about it than you know. You were kind about it, but it irritated you.
Yeah.
And I think all those things to me are in the context of, you know, when we think about customer service, and obviously the work that we do puts us in the threads with car dealers and the CRMs, and then working with customers and all these kind of things. And I think this is where, from a coaching standpoint, I thought here's a White Hat Wednesday opportunity for us to kind of explain where we would be coming from on a customer service approach in coaching around White Hat Way, right? First and foremost, it's inclusive. Okay. So and I'm always saying, especially let's take it to the context of the car dealer, the buy here, pay here dealer, who's meeting customers in person or online, right? Their team is meeting a person. Now we've got this artificial intelligence going to work and meeting people out on the front line. And that's all good. Technology, we definitely want to leverage technology. Begs the question, as we do all those things, are we peopling properly? Are we really treating these human beings as humans, treating them with respect? And there are all these different ways that I see dealers sort of get in their own way, or their team get in the way of what could be a buyer. And they sort of have this disqualifying sort of approach that is, we call it qualifying, but I kind of have always called it often called it disqualifying, because we end up weeding out people who would be a buyer. And so I think, in our segment, it's probably a little more exaggerated, because we know the customer who comes to us in a buy here, pay here dealership environment is in a tough credit spot.
Mm-hmm.
So we know they're disadvantaged from a buying perspective, and they're human beings,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this means that,
Yeah.
how we respond to them might not only affect whether we win that customer today, but their next purchase and their coworkers' purchases next week, and all these kind of things. Like, it's just really important that we recognize all these touch points. And listen, when I talk about in the thread, I said, we don't check the touch points frequently enough. And we're a business. We have clients and people that we have touch points
Mm-hmm.
with, and we don't do it perfectly. It's the attitude that we
Mm-hmm.
want to bring to the thing, and kind of the mindset
Mm-hmm.
that we bring into customer relations, that is especially important to me. I want to tell a story about my own experience online. So you guys know,
he has visual aids too.
Yeah, I brought visual aids today, so you can kind of see the stuff, because I think it's relevant in the context of what we're talking about here, in terms of, think about this in the context of CRM. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
so what I'm going to show you here is, let me preface the fact that Michelle and I, this is probably in the range of our 450th episode of the Buy Here, Pay Here Morning Show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We've never had anybody, filter that content. We've just been piling up content.
Knowing
we've
it's
got
like another day.
Rough math.
Yeah.
We probably have 500 hours of video content, and another, who knows how many hours of audio content on top of that. I go looking for somebody to start to manage that content, right? We've known
Mm-hmm.
that was on the horizon. Now we're looking to capitalize the process of, kind of clipping. They have content creation process where you go through
Mm-hmm.
video and you clip it and you create little clips and you release
Mm-hmm.
that for marketing and educational purposes, whatever. And so I started into that process of trying to find somebody. And I ran across somebody on, my feed in Facebook, and I would watch their little short video, and they seem like they're probably somebody, they sound like they have a solution, right? To be able to, and I think they're mostly thinking about taking content now that you create today and turning it into something, and not realizing that when I reach out to them, we've got hundreds of hours of back.
They don't know you.
They don't know me.
They don't know
and
you.
That's fine. They don't need to in this case for the story to be relevant. Let me kind of tell you what. So I click the thing. It gives me a little short video, and then there's a little thing.
You're going to show these.
Yeah,
Which, do you want one or two?
Number one.
Number one.
So when I get into the thing, I'm going to book an appointment. Okay. So as I go to book my appointment, it has about 5 questions there, and I only featured a couple of them that were kind of intriguing, but this is kind of one of their qualifying questions, right? Question number 1. Are you a coach, consultant, course creator, agency, or online service provider? Not real estate agent. They have their reasons apparently. With a price point of $2,000 or greater. Please do not continue if the answer is no. Which, how can I hear that except we're just really not interested in talking to you if you don't have a budget of $2,000 or more, right? So it's pretty easy to see how that translates to a buy here, pay here sort of environment. It says, we're really not interested in talking to you if you don't have a budget of $2,000 or more. Now, do we have a budget of $2,000 or more? There's a whole lot to be figured out. But we will, how many thousands will we spend?
We're talking about a long-term engagement potentially. So it's well over 2,000 likely.
And how many thousands are we talking about to organize and kind of filter through all that content that's out there? How many thousands would we end up paying somebody that we engage to do this thing? So this was kind of a turnoff. It was like, that just hit me as a disqualifying question. I said yes.
Started to just like go, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that because I could probably, as I shared with you this morning, I could probably come up with 5 ways to write that question better. Right.
And it's obviously to me when I read this, it's like they've had bad experience with real estate agents.
Yeah. And they've had bad experience with people thinking they can do it for less than $2,000 a month. But my point really is they don't. And so they set that and look, their business, they can decide, they can filter these things and they can make the decision of something like that. But that's a very hard qualifier, very first question.
Okay.
Are you ready to spend $2,000 or more? Because that's who we are. So, I can hear people in a qualifying process using something similar, but down payment or whatever in our space. Now let's go to the second one. You want to tee up that second one? So this was the last question.
You actually were booking the appointment,
I
and
chose
it
a
said,
time. Will you honor the time slot that you've selected and show up with all decision makers on the call? We do not allow rebooks if you no-show and we receive no communication from you. And the questions were, yes, of course I'll be there. Nope, I don't honor my commitments and will probably ghost you. So this one, I definitely paused. Like before I even accepted this one, I thought, you're placing something on me. You don't know me. And you're taking your past experience with others and you're applying it to me.
This is like pre-qualification, and it's because I hear the same problems that dealers have.
Yeah.
For
sure.
It's like, how much money do you have down?
Right.
And don't bother me if you're just looky-looing.
Yeah, and this is the part that I think, keep in mind, I'm a former salesperson in a new car store. I was a sales manager and trainer, so I come from that sort of background. And I owned retail businesses before that, right? So as a trainer, I would be bringing the mindset that's different than this, where you're applying yesterday's bad experiences to today's customer. And in this case, they're putting it right out front online. Like we're just saying, we don't want to do business with you if you fit this box, right?
Yes.
And while I understand where it comes from, and this one was kind of insulting. I mean, it was, and I thought, I see where you're coming from. I can see you trying to be professional and get people to show up. The language is insulting. I still selected yes. And here's the part that's most relevant to me in a way. As soon as I selected yes and I booked the appointment, and probably even before that, when I spent even just 30 seconds watching the video from them to kind of promote their services, then what happens? Facebook picks up from the algorithm. Oh, look, he's interested in content creation. And suddenly my feed was just a whole bunch of people that were hitting me with content creation opportunities and services. So that combined with this kind of questionable experience, I booked the appointment. I since canceled the appointment, right? And I go on to the thing, I find the thing, and I cancel the appointment, their booking process.
And they ask for a why, don't they?
Yeah, they did. Okay. And I told them, I said, basically, I'm going with someone else, and I found your booking process to be
insulting.
I don't think I used the word insulting, but same idea. I basically just said I didn't appreciate your booking process, and you probably know that you have a lot of competition out there.
Yeah.
So I think this is in the context of, I do this, and I did another one yesterday, and we don't necessarily need to go into the other thread at all, but I did another one yesterday where I got a survey. Hey, how was your recent experience? A little text message, and I had a chance to respond, which I do as a business owner now, and as a former business owner, somebody makes my living in operational coaching. I typically take a moment to give feedback. Like, I just think it's if it's good feedback or bad feedback, I will take a moment.
I love that about you, and I wish that more people just did that, because usually you only get just like the. Sure. But it's like, let's just give you some really constructive feedback.
And the short version of that story was, I had already, hours earlier, I had already sent in something with this other company, not related to this one we have on the screen, but this other company. I'd sent something in saying,
hey, you guys.
Yeah, you guys kind of fumbled this order, and so just know that this was kind of a problem. And then hours later, I get another inquiry. Hey, how was your recent experience? I'm thinking, well, first of all, I already reported that, and so you're clearly not paying attention to me.
It's an automated system, and it's just like, well, I guess that it landed in the trash.
But what happens as the customer? I'm saying, why bother? You're not really listening to me anyway, right? You didn't know that I've already provided feedback.
Yeah.
And so I think it becomes impersonal, and we lose customers that way. Okay. So this same outfit that I, canceled with, they've since reached out to me. I got another text message this morning. Hey, do you want to rebook? And I'm thinking, if you'd have read.
Oh, the one from that's like, I canceled it. And it's like, hey, would you like to rebook?
I told you when I canceled that I was going with someone else, and you're still pursuing me. And I told you why I'm not doing business with you.
So many morals
and
today,
so,
morals of the story.
Yeah. And so, I could go further, but it's like they've already missed me. Right. And so the thing that I've always said, and part of the reason you see me fill out those things, and I've said to businesses, I remember telling a business when I was getting an oil change, and here in Utah a few years ago, I told the guy verbally across the desk, I said, I've always said that I'll never tell somebody else how to do their business, but I will tell them how to earn mine. How to earn my business, right? I'm just telling you, I'm speaking for myself as one customer. Here's what you can do. Here's what you should probably avoid, in terms of trying to keep my business. And so the one other one that was kind of a little thread, I've spent quite a lot of money with them over time. It's been a really great experience. And I told them in my thread, I said, I've been a raving fan, but it seems that something's changed with you guys, really suggesting maybe a management change going on. But I've been a raving fan, but this experience was really vastly different. And so I just, wanted to bring it to their attention, not because I'm complaining, but because you guys are kind of fumbling customer experience here. You might want to have a look at this. And it seems to me like the right opportunity for somebody to pick up the phone and call me. If they looked at my thread, they'd say, oh, this guy was a regular customer for a long time.
Yeah.
He hasn't been. He came back for one time after a long stretch away, and we fumbled it. Probably ought to call him.
Yeah.
Nobody called me.
And so like what I'm seeing, the moral of that story is dealers, we need to be aware of how our automated systems communicate start or stop.
Yeah.
Because if someone has offered, there needs to be a way to be able to stop a automatic sequence of things.
Right.
So because it does make our customers feel like they're not listening.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They're not listening.
Right.
So, that's a big one. And that's both of those examples. You saw that it was an automated response.
Sure.
They're not listening.
Right.
And that's a big lesson.
Yeah.
And I when I was kind of like thinking about all of this as you were telling your story is, there's a lot of opportunities here for grace. Now, we always speak about grace and that, to allow the allowances. So, when I'm like, this guy said this and this guy said this and he was testy. One of the things in that conversation with my mom is like, I have no idea what happened to that guy this morning. Maybe his dog got ran over and he was testy, but he didn't have to say something sexually derogatory to me,
right?
Or, behind my back.
Right.
But so, it's like having the grace that people have their experiences.
Yeah.
And so it's really good for us to be aware of that. Like that whole email thing for scheduling that appointment. I'm like, what kind of experiences of these people had that would lead them to that kind of communication?
Of course.
And it's like, it is offensive. That doesn't go away. But what happened to them?
Yeah.
That led them to that, especially not real estate agents. It's like, oh gosh, there's a story behind that one.
Yeah, for sure.
So we as consumers and business owners need to allow grace in. It's like people are having a human experience. And so how we have our human experience sometimes affects how we people.
Right. Right.
How, our peopling skills.
Right.
And so, it's like dealers, be aware of how your automated systems are peopling your customers.
You want the good news? The good news is so many of our would-be competitors, if I'm a buy here, pay here dealer, they really mishandle this part. And so it creates a tremendous opportunity for us when we can see the opportunity that exists. And so back to your peopling thing, when we can learn how to better communicate, treat people with respect. And so the other thing that I didn't say early on is in the sales process as a trainer, I'm always working to get more customers farther into the process. I want as many customers to get deep into the process. In fact, I want the decision about the approval to get as close to the dealer's desk as possible. Sometimes it's the dealer principal themselves who's the final underwriter, but I don't want us making decisions. I don't want some
Sweeping.
chatbot making decisions. I don't want it disqualifying customers. I want to get customers as far into the process as I possibly can. And there may come a point where we just are out of options and we have to say no, but they're going to go away saying, man, they tried.
Oh yeah.
They tried,
Oh
right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's the part that I'm just trying to say is I think from a service standpoint, I think there's tremendous opportunity. And we just, when we can quit being, we can put aside the frustration about a customer yesterday and avoid bringing that into our dialogue today, then because that's going to pollute this new relationship almost right out of the gate. And so that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's a missed opportunity.
Yeah. Well, and there was one other thread in there that, like, from just my experience is, and we've talked about this a bunch of different times on the White Hat Wednesdays, is be really, you remember we talked about it's not what or how you say, but where you say it. I can give grace for the what and the how, but the fact that interaction with me was said in front of another customer.
Sure.
Didn't know that it was my mom.
Right.
It could have been a stranger, but the same effect.
Right.
The absolute same effect that someone coming behind would be like, I wonder what they're going to say about me.
Of course. Yeah.
And so it's like, be really, really careful.
Sure.
And as a dealer, as a business owner, you be careful what you do, because that kind of flows through. But if you see something like that it's a really good idea to pull them aside, not in the view or sound of anyone else, and say, that is not okay. That's just not okay.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where we recognize it as a business scale, then that means we're going to have people out front who are the face of our business. They're the ones who are having the face-to-face interaction. And it's not just our customers. It could be our vendors. It could be, whatever else. But I think we recognize in order for us to scale, that's got to happen. Well, that's going to come from us and the kind of the culture, the training, the attitude that we have. And it could be if one of our salespeople, as an example, is having a rough day, maybe they shouldn't be on the floor for a while, or, give them a day, whatever, because we pay a price when people bring a bad attitude and they bring yesterday's attitude into today's customer. And so I just think it's avoidable.
Yeah.
And it's something that, we can do better. Yeah. And I think we just recognize that we've got to first just try to treat every customer with the same. And that thing that I talk about where this customer is going to be with us for 10, 20, 30 years, every customer I meet, if I expect that this customer is going to be with me 10, 20, 30 years, then whatever their situation is today, I may be able to overcome it if I just bring that attitude.
Yes. And just so you know, those of you that, I love Costco.
Yeah.
I will continue to go to Costco. This is the first experience I've ever had like this. If it continues, I will have to rethink that.
Sure, of course.
But it's first experience. And so, for me, my call to action today is to find out if I can talk to someone there and say, I had a thing happen yesterday and I just want you to be aware.
Right.
Because yeah, just like you do, you leave feedback, and it's not like, what are you going to do about it? I'm not going to bring that kind of energy. I'm going to have the grace to say, hey, there's a thing you might want to be aware of.
Right.
Because I don't think it's never been something I've experienced before,
right,
but I did today.
Yeah.
And so, and it wasn't even like crazy busy.
Right.
So, because I can see Christmas time is just awful there.
Months, yeah.
But and I mean, I give like my grace bucket is just, I keep it so full at Christmas time because it's just awful.
Yeah.
So so the that's like another moral, but there's just a lot of really good humaning, peopling wisdom in some of these experiences that we had yesterday and the day before. So hopefully you can glean something that's helpful out of it. What else?
I think that's it.
All right.
There's more, but we'll save it for another episode.
Yes, today it is Wednesday. We know you're busy and you're taking the time to make us part of your day.
Sure.
Thank you.
Don't forget to find us and follow us over on YouTube.
Visuals can't get those on the regular syndicated podcast station. All right, we'll be back on Friday. I think we've already chosen a subject for Friday. We talked about it. But we will see you guys on Friday. Otherwise, enjoy the last Wednesday of March. Well, have a great day, everybody. Talk to you later.